Okay, so this is Daf 40, Amud Beit of Tractate Shevuot, Oaths. It says, if he admitted to part of the claim about the land, he's exempt. If he admitted to part of the claim about the vessels, he's liable to take an oath. The Gemara infers the reason he is exempt from the first cases is that the claim was for vessels and land, as the claim with regard to land is not subject to an oath, but the claim was for vessels and one type of vessels of another type, or for wheat and barley, similar to the case of a claim for vessels and land, in that the defendant admitted to owing one type and denied owing the other type. He is liable to take an oath. The Gemara rejects the inference. No, it is possible that the same is true. That is, that even if the claim was for vessels of one type and vessels of another type, the defendant admitted to owing one type and denied owing the other type, he's exempt. And the reason that the Mishnah teaches specifically the case where the claim is for vessels and land, is that this teaches us that in a case where the defendant admitted to a part of the claim with regard to the vessels, he is liable to take an oath concerning the land as well. The Gemara asks, what is this teaching us? Does it teach the halacha that an admission to part of the claim about vessels also binds the land to the oath? We learn this in a Mishnah in Tractate Kedushin 26a, where there is a claim against a person for movable property and land, and he is liable to take an oath concerning the movable property. The movable property binds the property that serves as a guarantee, that is the land, so that he is forced to take an oath concerning it too. The Gemara answers, the Mishnah is the primary reference to this halacha as it discusses the halachot of oaths, whereas that Mishnah cites it incidentally in the context of a broader survey of the difference between these two types of property. And Rabbi Chia bar Abba disagrees with Shmuel and says that Rabbi Yochanan says if one claimed that another owes him both wheat and barley, and the latter admitted to owing him one of them, he is exempt from taking an oath. The Gemara asks, but doesn't Rabbi Yitzchak say to Rav Nachman, you have spoken well in the name of Shmuel, that is saying that the defendant is liable to take an oath in the aforementioned case. And so also said Rabbi Yochanan. If so, Rabbi Yochanan agrees with Shmuel and not with Rabbi Chia bar Abba. The Gemara answers they are Amoraim and they disagree with regard to the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan. So the Amoraim are the rabbis of the Gemara, not the Mishnah. The Gemara suggests, Tashma, come and hear a proof against the opinion of Rabbi Chia bar Abba from the Mishnah. If one claimed that another owes him wheat, and the defendant admitted to owing him barley, he is exempt. And Rabban Gamliel deems him liable to take an oath. The Gemara infers the reason he is exempt is that he claimed that he owes him wheat, and the defendant admitted to owing him barley. But if the claim was for both wheat and barley, and the defendant admitted to owing him one of them, he would be liable to take an oath. The Gemara rejects this proof. It is possible that the same is true, that even if the claim was for both wheat and barley, the defendant is exempt. And the fact that the Mishnah teaches specifically this case, where the claim was specifically for wheat, is in order to convey to you the far-reaching nature of the opinions of Rabban Gamliel, as he holds that even in this case, one is liable to take an oath. The Gemara suggests, Tashma, come and hear another proof from the Mishnah. If one claimed that another owes him vessels and land, and the defendant admitted to owing him vessels but denied the claim of the land, or if he admitted to owing him land but denied the claim of the vessels, he is exempt from taking an oath. If he admitted to part of the claim with regard to the land, he is exempt. If he admitted to part of the claim with regard to vessels, he is liable to take an oath. The Gemara infers the reason he is exempt in the first cases is that the claim was for vessels and land, as the claim with regard to land is not subject to an oath. But if the claim was for vessels and one type of vessels of another type, and was for vessels of one type and vessels of another type, similar to the case of a claim for vessels and land, in that the defendant admitted to owing one type and denied owing the other type, he is liable to take an oath. The Gemara rejects this. It is possible that the same is true, that even if the claim was for vessels, one type vessels of one type and vessels of another type, he is exempt. And the Mishnah teaches specifically the case where the claim is for vessels and land, because this teaches us that if the defendant admitted to a part of the claim with regard to the vessels, he is liable to take an oath concerning the land as well. The Gemara asks, what is this teaching us? Does it teach the halacha that an admission to part of the claim about vessels also binds the land to the oath? We learn this in a Mishnah in Tractate Kedushin 26a. The movable property binds the property that serves as a guarantee, so that he is forced to take an oath concerning it too. The Gemara answers, this Mishnah is the primary reference to this halacha, whereas that Mishnah cites it incidentally. Rabbi Abba bar Memel raised an objection to the opinion of Rabbi Chia bar Abba from a Braita. If one claimed that another owes him an ox, and the latter admitted to owing him a sheep, or conversely, if the claim was for a sheep and the defendant admitted to owing him an ox, he's exempt from taking an oath. If one claimed that another owes him an ox and a sheep, and the defendant admitted to owing him one of them, he is liable to take an oath. Rabbi Chia bar Abba said to him in response, in accordance with whose opinion is this? It is in accordance with the opinion of Rabban Gamliel, who deems the defendant liable to take an oath, even if his admission was not of the same type of item as the claim. So Rabbi Abba bar Memel responded, if it is in accordance with the opinion of Rabban Gamliel, the defendant should be liable to take an oath, even in the first clause of the Braita, where the claim is for an ox and the admission is with regard to a sheep. Rabbi Chia bar Abba explained, rather, in accordance with whose opinion is this? It is Adamon, who holds that the admission must be of the same type as the claim, and maintains, nevertheless, that in a case where one claims that another owes him jugs of oil, and the latter admits that he owes him jugs, but not the oil, the defendant is liable to take an oath. And I am not dismissing your objection insubstantially, rather it is set tradition in the mouth of Rabbi Yochanan, who would say, in accordance with whose opinion is this Braita, it is in accordance with the opinion of Admon. So Rav Anan says that Shmuel says, if one intended to claim from another wheat and barley, and claim that he owes him wheat, and before he finished his claim, the defendant first admitted that he owes him barley. In this case, that the defendant did so as one who employs artifice, so that he would be exempt from taking an oath concerning the wheat, he is liable to take an oath. But if he did so as one who intends to respond to the claim without any ulterior motive, he is exempt. And Rav Anan says that Shmuel says, if one claimed that another owes him 2 needles, and the latter admitted to owing him one of them, he is liable to take an oath. It is for this reason that vessels were singled out in the verse, to teach that one is liable to take an oath in a case of admission to part of a claim involving vessels of any value. Rav Papa says, if one claimed that another owes him vessels and one peruta, and the latter admitted to owing him the vessels but denied the claim that he owes him the peruta, he is exempt from taking an oath. If he admitted that he owes him one peruta but denied the claim that he owes him the vessels, he is liable to take an oath. The Gemara comments, one of these rulings is in accordance with the opinion of Rav, and the other is in accordance with Shmuel. The former one, that if the defendant denied owing the peruta, he is exempt, is in accordance with the opinion of Rav, who says that the denial of a claim must be of at least the value of 2 silver ma'ah in order to render the defendant liable to take an oath. The latter one, that if he denied owing the vessels, he is liable to take an oath, is in accordance with the opinion of Shmuel, who says that if one claimed that another owes him both wheat and barley, and the latter admitted to owing him one of them, he is liable to take an oath. The Mishnah teaches that if the claimant said, I have 100 dinars in your possession, and the defendant responded, nothing of yours is in my possession, he is exempt. Rav Nachman says that the court administers an oath of inducement, an oath instituted by the sages to him. What is the reason? There is a presumption that one does not make a claim unless he has a valid case against the other party. Therefore, even though there is no admission on the part of the claim, the defendant's denial should be examined through an oath. The Gemara objects, on the contrary, there is a presumption that a person does not exhibit insolence by lying in the presence of his creditor to deny the entire debt. Therefore, the defendant's denial of the entire claim suggests that he is telling the truth. The Gemara answers that a debtor's categorical denial is not necessarily out of insolence. He may be temporarily avoiding paying him. He rationalizes doing so by saying to himself, I am avoiding him only until the time that I have enough money, and then I will repay him. So, know that denial of a debt is not considered an outright lie, as Rav Idi bar Avin says that Rav Chisda says, one who denies a claim with regard to a loan is fit to bear witness, even if his denial is proven untrue. By contrast, one who denies a claim with regard to a deposit and is proven to be lying is disqualified from bearing witness. The distinction is clearly based on the aforementioned reasoning. A debtor who denies the debt may be avoiding payment until he has enough money, whereas a bailee who denies having been given a deposit clearly intends to steal the item. So Rav Haviva teaches Rav Nachman's statement as referring to the latter clause. In the Mishnah, if one said to another, I have 100 dinars in your possession, and the other said to him, yes. And the next day the claimant said to him, give the money to me. And the defendant responded, I already gave it to you. He is exempt. And Rav Nachman says, nevertheless, the court administers an oath of inducement to him. The Gemara explains the difference between the two versions of Rav Nachman's statement with regard to the one who teaches it. In reference to the former clause, where the defendant denied the existence of the debt. All the more so does this Amora agree that an oath of inducement is administered in a case of the latter clause where the defendant admitted to the existence of the debt and merely claimed that he paid it. And that is the end of Daf 40.